So hello there everyone and welcome, it is Aniran here, and today it is time for me to bring you yet another FIFA career mode video in terms of things that we would like to see in a game in the future. Now, these have been going down really well recently, so I've got to say a massive thank you to you guys for the support on the videos I've been doing in this sort of fashion recently. And we did about leagues that should be entered into career mode in the future, that should be added to the game, and something that I was seeing a lot in the comment section actually was stadiums that should be in the game. Now, I did some research into this and haven't really kept up to date with exactly what stadiums were in the game and how many per league, but it's actually quite atrocious. It's shocking. There's only 2 French league stadiums, only 2 Spanish stadiums, and like 5 German stadiums, 3 Italian stadiums, yet you've got every single Premier League one in the entirety of the game. So it's very odd. So obviously in an ideal world, I would like to say there should be at least 6 in each league, realistically, outside of England. I mean, if you're going to have all the English ones, I think you should have all the stadiums from the other countries as well. But if we do that, then we'll be here till literally next Tuesday with this video. So I'm going to be bringing you just 12, just my top 12 that should be added. But bear in mind, I feel like there should be a lot more added to the game in the future. If you're going to enjoy this video though, slap a like on it and subscribe, of course, if you are new to the channel. It will massively help me out. So if you are new, I do implore that you go ahead and hit that red button under the video. However, we're going to jump straight into proceedings now, starting off with the big one. Now, I realise this isn't in FIFA due to PES licensing now, but I'm sorry, you cannot have a FIFA game that does not have the Nou Camp in. What in the world is going on there? That just isn't okay. It just isn't okay. How can we have an actual FIFA game that doesn't have Barcelona Stadium, arguably the biggest brand in terms of football in the entire world, and they don't have their own stadium on the game? We'll get on to a couple more that have their rights owned by PES, but this is number 1 out of the 12 that I'm going to be bringing you today. The Nou Camp then, Barcelona Stadium, a 99k seater stadium, is somehow not in the game. I realise again it's due to Konami and PES owning the rights for some reason to have this stadium in the game, but it's ridiculous. Having a FIFA game without the Nou Camp in is like having a flipping F1 game without Ferrari in. It's ridiculous to not have the Nou Camp in the game. So that is the first, realistically. I don't think there's any qualms we can have against that. Next one, unfortunately, again, is a similar story. The rights have been taken over by Konami and PES to have it in the game, but it has the best atmosphere of any stadium in the world, in my opinion. And there's a Signal Iduna Park that is obviously the home to Borussia Dortmund. The Yellow Wall, 81,000 seater stadium, is once again not featured in FIFA this time around. It isn't on FIFA 18. I don't know whether EA are trying to work to make sure that these stadiums that were taken over by Konami and PES are then going to be in the next FIFA, whether they can try and find loopholes in those exclusivity contracts. But unfortunately, Signal Iduna Park is not on the current FIFA. It has to be added. It absolutely has to be added. The atmosphere in that stadium is absolutely insane, and EA talk about having immersion and talk about having amazing atmospheres in a game. How can you then omit the best stadium for that from your game? On to number 3, and a similar reason as to why this stadium should be in the game as well. And generally speaking, I think Eredivisie stadiums are massively overlooked. Only the Ajax Stadium, or the Amsterdam Arena I think it's called, is on the game. However, the Keep, I think you pronounce it that way, the Feyenoord Stadium is one that really should be added, again, for similar reasons. It has an amazing atmosphere, probably the second best atmosphere in the whole of Europe, maybe even the world, in my opinion, along with Anfield. The Keep is ridiculous for having that sort of atmosphere, and again, EA talk about this so much when it comes to adding new stadiums onto the game, making more immersion, making more atmosphere, and yet you're omitting stadiums like this. 51,000 seater stadium, obviously the home to Feyenoord, as I mentioned, over in the Eredivisie, and one that I think should definitely be in the game in future as well. Estadio da Luz is another one here, the Benfica Stadium. Unbelievably, there are no Portuguese stadiums on the game at all, and yet this 65,000 seater stadium is, I mean, just look at it, it looks sick as well. So again, I think the fact that there's a wide variety of countries, of big footballing countries, that don't even have a single stadium on a FIFA game, I think is quite outrageous, to be honest with you. And I know stadiums are something that are quite difficult to put together, realistically. It's difficult to put new stadiums into a game, but it's got to be done. You can't have a nation like Portugal without any stadiums on the game. Estadio da Luz, obviously, which is Benfica Stadium, isn't on the game. And another one that I would like to see is Porto Stadium as well, which is known as the Estadio do Dragão. Dragao, 50,000 seater stadium. I think both of those from Portugal should actually be in the game, both Benfica's Estádio da Luz and the Estádio do Dragao, because as I mentioned, this is a reason it's going to be recurring quite a lot through this video. There should be more of a variety in terms of the nations that are represented in their stadiums, not just England having them all, and then some for France, some for Italy, some for Germany, some for Spain. Get some stadiums in from different countries. It's going to appeal to a wider audience. Now, I did mention France, but actually they're massively underrepresented as well. So the Stade de France is a stadium I would like to see. Not even France's national stadium is on FIFA. What is that about? The Stade de France isn't even on the game. 81,000, massive stadium, and it just isn't even in FIFA. There is so much potential for EA to put some really flipping decent stadiums into this game instead of making more default made up ones as they go along, but for some reason they seem to just shy away from it. Don't know whether it's the cost involved or just the effort involved, but it is really frustrating to not have huge stadiums in the world of football like the Stade de France, not even in the game at all. So another nation I mentioned in that list a moment ago was Spain, but again they're pretty underrepresented too. Only 2 stadiums in the La Liga are on FIFA, including the Bernabeu, but the Mestalla, another one unfortunately owned by Konami and PES in terms of rights at the moment, but that is Valencia Stadium, is again another stadium with a ridiculous atmosphere and one that I think would be great on FIFA once again. It did obviously used to be on the game and then the rights were lost and PES now have it, etc, etc, but it just seems odd that there's so many of these big stadiums just aren't on the game. 55,000 seater stadium, obviously based in Valencia, and one that I'm sure a lot of Spanish fans would like to see on the game. A slightly out there one now, but actually the one with the second biggest capacity in this video, and that is the First National Bank Stadium, the one that was made for the South African World Cup in 2010. Currently is home to South Africa, but also the Kaizer Chiefs as well over in the South African League. If you're going to have Kaizer Chiefs on the game, it would make sense, I guess, because they're in the rest of the world section. It would make sense to have their stadium as a rest of the world stadium, if you like. And it is a huge stadium and looks sick. It looks amazing. Like, for crying out loud, it's 94,000 capacity as well, and it would mean a stadium in a different, or in the African continent, because I'm pretty sure there are no stadiums from Africa on the game. You've got a couple in, like, Japan and stuff like that. There's a couple of Asian stadiums, but there's absolutely none in Africa, so that would tick that box as well. And plus, it's a really good-looking stadium, and it's huge. For crying out loud, get it on the game, obviously hosted the World Cup, so theoretically it will have been on the World Cup game of 2010. Bit of a double header this next one because it's the Old Firm stadiums. Both the Ibrox and Celtic Park do not find themselves on FIFA, and again, I don't know why. The atmosphere is so good at both, especially in an Old Firm game. Could you imagine what FIFA could actually do in terms of immersion and atmosphere with that game if they had those stadiums on it? You know, you could walk out playing the Old Firm derby and it would look like a flipping Old Firm derby as well, rather than just 2 teams playing at Court Lane, for example, one of the generic stadiums on the game. I do just feel like there needs to be more of an emphasis on these actual real stadiums rather than the abundance of fake ones that we have. Ibrox 50,000 seater, Celtic Park 61,000 seater, so we're not talking small stadiums here. These are big ones, housing Rangers and Celtic respectively, and yeah, just for the reason alone of being able to walk out in the Old Firm and it's actually the real stadiums would be great. Only a couple more left now, and we're heading back to the Netherlands for the next one, and that is the Philips Stadion, the PSV Eindhoven Stadium. I'll leave a picture up of it at night because it looks absolutely amazing, and like, just for aesthetic value, it would be great in terms of an addition to the game, along with obviously to keep for the atmospheric purposes. I'm sure Philips Stadion has a very good atmosphere as well. I've never experienced that, I can't lie to you. Never been to a PSV Eindhoven game, nor have I watched one, unfortunately, but there we go. But 35,000 seat stadium, and again, just a good way of getting some more variety in terms of the countries that these stadiums originate from. And finally, there is a distinct lack of Italian stadiums on the game as well. We haven't got to that so far. I think it's only Juventus, the San Siro, and the stadium of, I don't even know who it is actually. There's another stadium on there somewhere on the lines, but Napoli Stadium doesn't even find itself on the game, unfortunately. 60,000 seater stadium, Stadio San Paolo just isn't on FIFA. Yet another stadium overlooked by EA. Certainly a stadium that I think should be added like the other 11 in this video. But let me know what other stadiums you think should be added to FIFA, because having looked over it, man, there is a there is a hell of a lot of stadiums, good stadiums as well, that for some reason just are not in the game. So yeah, let me know what stadiums you think should be added to FIFA. Whilst you're at it, slap a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. It's the big red button under the video, and it really helps me out if you do go ahead and press that, of course, if you enjoyed the video. You can follow me on social media as well if you want. My Twitter handle is @theofficialfng, and my Instagram is exactly the same. Links are down below. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.